In this video, we're going to take a look at creating different layouts and managing those layouts. So what is a layout? Well, a layout is what you'll see here on the far right-hand side of the screen. You'll see sharing, discussion, and collaboration. Those are the three defaults that come with this particular template that we're using. And so because of that, and those are actually pretty good ones. If I click on discussion, there's a slightly different layout. I've got discussion notes, I have the chat, and I've got a poll in here that I can use, as well as attendees, and I can start a webcam. Collaboration's a little bit different. I still have the webcam, I still have the attendees, notes, chat, but now I have files that I can share. So if I upload something, everyone in the session can get that, as well as whiteboard. And so if we wanted to write on that whiteboard, we certainly could. So that's really how those work. So as I click through those, you'll see how the entire layout changes, and it looks just like that for the participants. So it's really neat the way it kind of moves through those. So what are the implications of these? Well, if you have different activities, you might want to set up a slightly different layout for each of those activities. Maybe you want to do it for each week of your course and set those up ahead of time. Week 1 has certain things in it. Week 2 has certain things. You could do that. You could do it to do special activities. I have something that I'll show you here in a minute to use as an example. I call the dueling chats, where you have two different groups and they're asked to chat two different things, but it's kind of a blast. And it's kind of neat the way that works. So we'll set one of those up as well. So again, these are the layouts here on the side, and so we can do a couple of different things. You can edit the ones that exist. You can certainly do that. I think they're okay, so I'm going to leave mine alone. I don't want to mess those up because I like the way they look, but I want to add some new ones. So to do that, I'm going to go down here in my far right-hand corner at the very bottom to this plus sign and click on the plus. And it's going to ask me if I'd like to create a new blank one, or if I want to duplicate an existing layout. So if you want to duplicate one, that's certainly fine. Like I said, those are actually pretty good, so I don't see that as an issue. I don't want to do that. I actually want to create a new one, and then I can give it a name. So I'm going to call this Dueling Chat. And you will see why it's called that here in just a minute. And again, I'm not going to duplicate, so we can leave this one alone. Then I'll click OK, and that new one shows up, and you can see it says Dueling Chat here. And you can see that it is completely blank. So to add content to it, or to add things to this layout, I'm going to go up to my pods, and I'm going to take a look at those pods and decide what it is that I want to show. I have the option to create a new share. New share pod would be this screen sharing. I can do that. You'll see that it's now share 5. It's actually very important to remember that those are all numbered because you may need to refer to those later. I can also create a notes one. Right now there are 2 that are created in this already. Discussion and notes. Those were in those other 2 layouts. Attendees, that's one that's the same with all of them because they all have the same attendees. So you're not going to see that as being a different one. So let's close that. Next we have video, so I can create a video pod so that I can share my webcam and then see others' webcams. And again, that one's also another one like attendees that there's only one. Video telephony we're not going to use. Chat, you can add all kinds of different chats. You can have different file shares, sets of web links, polls, and then Q&A. So these are all, and we're going to just do a couple of those right now. So let's say we want to do that dueling chat like we talked about. I don't want to add the chat that's already existing. I want this to be new. So I'm going to say add new chat, and it's going to create this great big chat. Well, obviously that's just one. I don't want that. So I'm going to grab this edge and slide it over. You see how I did that. The way these work is they are dockable, and they'll sit in this view. See how I'm moving those around? I'm just grabbing that edge until I get that little double arrow, and I can move them around. So I'm going to put this back in this corner and pull it back down. So that's one chat. Let's add another one. So I'm going to say add new chat, and now I have a second one. Well, those are not distributed very well, so let's kind of move those around a little bit. My screen's very wide, so you may not always have this much width, but that's okay. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's pretty well distributed. It's not exact, but it's close. So let's say my activity was, I would say to everyone in my group, I'd say, okay, everyone who has a birthday in January through April, you're going to be on chat 8. Everyone who has a birthday from, so May to December, they're going to be in chat 9. And then I give them the question and they type their answers in. Just going to do it real quick, and they start just pushing their answers out there. So then we have an interesting dynamic of seeing two different groups with two different sets of answers and something for us to compare and look at. So it's kind of an interesting way of getting students to participate by having literally two different chats. So that's one idea. Another idea, let's create a brand new one. So I'm going to click on the plus again. Let's just say, let's call this video. Let's say all we want to do is have a discussion and we're just going to talk to each other with video. In that case, we'll go up to our pods and I'm going to click on the video, but instead of it being small, I'm going to make this really big. And if I had more than one video, I'm going to change these layouts depending on what I want to do. So these two layouts do two different things. If I do the grid, it's just going to show everyone equally on a grid. If I change it to this film strip view, it's going to show the person who's talking in the large video view and then all of the others who are participating and listening in the smaller view. So it kind of switches back and forth and makes it more like a conversation. So that would be more like a video conversation where that's really all you're doing is just chatting on that. Let's do one more example here. I'm going to click on the plus again, and let's just do kind of your standard sharing. But this time let's do sharing and then duplicate existing layout. And all that does, as you see how this copy looks exactly like that copy, it's because it really is. So it really is just a duplication. And this is a pretty typical layout that you'll probably use. You may find that you don't need the webcam, and that's all right. But in this copy, look what I'm going to do here. I'm going to change the layout just a bit. I don't really want video, so I'm going to hide that. And I want my attendees list to be wide. I don't know why I'd ever really do this in real life, but I just want to kind of show you what you can do. So let's say I've got really wide content and I want to have my chat here. Or alternatively, I've got a really long chat and I want to see all the answers. So I want to do that so I can see all of the chats at the same time. But again, I've done this, but I've not altered this one. So this one can still be the same. It's actually the same content, but it's just in a slightly different layout. So that's kind of a quick overview of how to use those layouts, how to access the pod information, move things around, change them around. And again, my hope would be that you would see this and say, hey, I can do even better stuff with it. I have even cooler ideas, because these are really just very basic ideas that I've shown you as part of a demonstration, but I know you'll come up with other things that will work even better.